Well, well, well. You know, there's a few things that, folks, you should never do. First is you don't tug on Superman's cape. Second is you don't piss in the wind. And the third, you don't sell your soul to Slanesh. That's bad. We got some weird stuff to talk about this week. We've got journalists. I'm having a hard time deciding whether or not video game journalists or comic book journalists are the worst, so that'll be part of today's discussion. We'll be talking a bit about people apparently worrying way too much about an anthropomorphic animal's boobs. And then, yeah, we're gonna just fuck. But I can't get over that second one because it's fucking really. So yeah, this one's gonna be an interesting episode, folks. So we're gonna go ahead and get right to it. Welcome once again to On the Grind. At least I have Pepsi. All right.
Pep.
We're going to start this off with Serena getting some culture.
Yeah. I finally watched the original 80s Ghostbusters movie.
Yes. It's kind of a bummer that Xavier's not here because he would flip the fuck out over the fact that you've watched it. Because he loves Ghostbusters.
It's the closest thing you can get to an autistic blue collar film.
It really is. All right, Serena, tell us about what you think about it.
Okay, let's start with a summary. It's basically about what did you start as three college what is it called? Parasocials, parapsychologists, people who are really...
Parapsychologists, I believe.
Okay, people who are really into the supernatural. Basically, they get kicked out. They get their funding stripped. Well, their names are Peter Vickman, played by Dan Aykroyd.
Yes.
Ray Scans, played by I'm sorry, I'm really, really, really bad. So they're Peter Vickman.
Ray is Dan Aykroyd. Bill Vinkman is Bill Murray.
Okay. And Aegon, played by Harold Ramis. And then you got Ernie Hudson, who plays, I forgot what the black dude's name is. I'm really bad with names.
Terrible.
Winston, yeah. Basically, these men, well, Ernie Hudson's character comes later, but the three professors, they basically get their funding stripped from them and are forced to leave the college because the colleges think they're just wasting their time. They're an embarrassment to science.
I mean, for a little while they were correct. I mean, what was it? Venkman was just obviously there to try and get laid with the college-age graduates.
Yeah.
And your boy, Egon, was collecting a shit ton of fungus for no particular reason.
Yeah. So they were kind of wasting the college's time. The college basically kicked them out, so they decided to start their own paranormal hunter. Basically, they're the supernatural equivalent of, what would you call it? Plumbers? Electricians?
Exterminator.
Yeah, exterminators, yeah. So they decided to start their own business, and they find success with it. A client that their first client is played by Sigourney Weaver. I believe her name is Donna, who Dan Aykroyd's character tries to hit on.
Dana, yeah. She plays a role in the series being eventually possessed by a ghost and becoming a herald for a Gozer. You also have Harold Ramis's character. No, Rick Moranis.
Yeah, who was kind of like this annoying neighbor that tries to hit on Dana, and she's just not receptive to it. And then you got like Dan Aykroyd's character being a creep on her. But it's the only reason why he's not like as hated as he is in the movie is because of Bill Murray's charisma. So as the guys are kind of one scene stuck out with to me the most, and I'm surprised that they got away with this. This is a PG-13 movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Like, I remember watching the scene of like a ghost giving egg. I think it was
Egon. But yes.
Egon's character self giving him a blowjob. I'm like, what the fuck? I was like, wait, what? that was just so weird.
Well, for little kids, they wouldn't understand the significance of the motion, whereas it's supposed to go over the heads a little bit of them.
Yeah, but it's a little bit more obvious here because you kind of see her undoing his belt. It's just that was an interesting scene. I'm just gonna say that they then tried to catch Slimer. I think that was the well known green ghost Slimer,
Yeah,
right?
Slimer. Yeah.
They try to catch Slimer. It doesn't go well. Um, a bunch of shit happens. Sigourney Weaver's character gets possessed. The environmentalist dude, like the dude who was like a representative for the Department of Environment,
Oh yeah, that guy.
the one,
Dickless.
yeah, the one that
They
that
caused an explosion. Is this true?
yeah,
Yes, it is
most
true. This man has no dick.
I love that. Um, he basically forces them to shut down the very thing that was containing the ghost, and all hell breaks loose. So in order to escape jail time, the guys gotta like literally prevent the end of the world and the birth of a Babylonian god.
I mean, it's all in a day's work.
Pretty much.
Rick Moranis' character gets possessed by one of the heralds of Gozer. And him and Sigourney Weaver's character basically go to bring forth Gozer, who has by far the most interesting design for a bad guy, with a very great voice. Like honestly, I really wish that the final battle was just Gozer in their demon form, not their destroyer form, the form they start out with in like the first encounter.
Ah, yes. The possessed
Yeah,
form.
but if you're paying for Sigourney Weaver, you got to get your money's worth.
Yeah, but that wasn't Sigourney Weaver. That was an actor.
Ah, that's right.
Yeah, it was like some like I think Russian model.
Let me go see. Slavica Jovan.
Yeah, I really wish that she was just the final boss instead of like having it be the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. She was just intimidating. And now I finally get the significance of the line, "Are you a god?"
Ray, when someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes!
Yeah, now I understand because it was referenced in like other media and pop culture. I just never understood what that was about. I knew it was from Ghostbusters, but I just didn't understand the significance of it.
Oh, yeah.
So so Gozer, he, she, it kind of forces them to choose a form for her. And Dan Aykroyd's character basically said, don't think," and was it not that not that fucking how I get these men mixed up. Bill Murray's Dan Aykroyd's character ends up like turning Gozer into the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. So they basically had to like close the portal to Gozer's dimension before the Gozer Stay Puft basically reaches them. They managed to defeat Gozer, not without being without exploding on them and them being covered in marshmallow bits. Sigourney Weaver's and Rick Moranis' character is freed from the curse, the possession, and all the guys not only save the world, but they have like they're heralded as heroes.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you think about it?
It was very interesting. It was very funny. And as someone who I watched the newer movies, not that shitty 2016 one, the one with like Egon's granddaughter.
That is the genuine inheritor of the series. I'm just going to say that.
I haven't watched. What was there was another one that came out that was like Frozen Empire. I have not checked that one out, but I watched the one with Egon's granddaughter. Like, was it like last October? That one was actually good. It was a nice like going back and seeing the first one. It's a nice like bookend chapter, a nice passing of the torch story for the like original actors.
Yeah.
It was just it didn't do what fucking Last Jedi did. It just disrespected its legacy characters. It actually gives them respect.
Oh yeah.
Which is how you do a legacy story.
Which is everything that the 2015, 16, whatever Ghostbusters wasn't.
Yeah, unfortunately, the reboot that one there, it all the actresses didn't get the memo in that they have to play off of each other, and they were fighting each other.
Funny. I'm sorry, they're just not fucking funny. Like
They're
I remember some clips on YouTube for the 2016 back when like the whole buzz around it was going on. I didn't laugh once.
Mm-hmm.
And I hated like Leslie's character. She was just fucking annoying. Just loud black woman.
Yeah. I blame a lot of that on the writing and the direction because like the guy who directed this movie's was it Ivan Reitman or Alvin Reitman? I forget his name. Ivan Reitman. Reitman is like one of the best comedy directors of all time. He directed both Ghostbusters films. He did one of my favorite comedies of all time in Kindergarten Cop. Mostly because it's... I don't know why Arnold Schwarzenegger is shockingly good with comedy.
He's a psychology major.
Yeah, there is that. But the big thing about this is that also this movie was written by Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis. And Dan Aykroyd is one of the best comedians of all time. Not just as being a funny on a stage type comedian, but also as a writer. Like, Dan Aykroyd writes really good comedy. He's one of the greatest of all time. And you have, again, like, one of the funniest Chicago comedians ever. And that's saying something. Because there's a lot of comedians that are from Chicago that are really fucking funny. That are, like, legendary. So saying that he's, like, one of the funniest is pretty crazy. He's not the funniest to come from Chicago. The funniest to come from Chicago is Robin Williams.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, I'm of the opinion that Robin Williams is the greatest comedian to ever live. And I miss him. But back on the Ghostbusters thing, it's just one of those things where it's like it didn't really have the elements that it needed to have to make with the proper ha-has, because both of the first two Ghostbusters films had great writing. And
outstanding writing compared to what they were trying to do, unfortunately. Oh, goodness.
so Do you plan on ever watching the sequel to this, Serena?
If they stream it in the other server, then yeah.
I would definitely watch it, but just keep in mind it was more written for a younger audience. Not that that's a bad thing. The second movie's great too. But
They couldn't quite get away with as much shit as they did in the first one, but it is pretty good. And the villain is one of the more menacing passive villains ever.
yeah.
Honestly. He's not a show up and beat you up kind of villain. He's there in the background and he's causing some shit.
Yeah. Well, folks, there you go. Serena has been even more cultured than she was before. Now we just need to figure out... We need to sit you down and have you watch The Godfather.
The Godfather.
Yeah.
Godfather.
The very first Godfather film. It's amazing.
And the second one is pretty good, and then the third was just fucking trash.
Yes, it was. But since it's Halloween, I think that what we really need to sit you down and make you watch is Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Which
It
version?
is, the 1990s one. It is one of the weirdest films in regards to its casting and the way it presents itself. But how to describe it? It's directed by one of the greatest directors ever, with Francis Ford Coppola, and the cast is fucking wild because Dracula is played by Gary Oldman, who's amazing. Abraham Van Helsing is played by Anthony Hopkins. Richard Grant is in it. Carrie Elwes is in it. Monica Bellucci gets naked in it. You know, like stuff like that. All things that are enjoyable. But, Tom Waits is in it as well. But then you have Mina Harker is played by Winona Ryder. And Jonathan Harker is portrayed by Keanu Reeves.
It is so weird.
Why is that weird casting?
Because Keanu Reeves can't do a British accent for shit. I love Keanu, but man, he was still in Bill and Ted mode. So you just imagine the British version of Whoa, and that's basically what you got with him. like what the hell? So nothing against Keanu Reeves. I love Keanu Reeves, but like man, that was. He cast Winona Ryder and Keanu Reeves because they were stupid popular in the 90s. That's why. You know, not necessarily because they were the best picks for the role, because there are scenes with more. I would actually like throw more blame on Winona Ryder because she's in there with like, with Anthony Hopkins and fucking Gary Oldman, two of the greatest actors to ever live, and it's just Winona Ryder doing Winona Ryder things, and it's just like, why are you here? So,
Wasn't it because she was in like Beetlejuice at the time?
yeah, because she was super popular because of that. Keanu was really popular because of. I think this is before Keanu started transitioning to being an action star, because this is before Speed came out. This is when he was still doing Bill and Ted.
Speed Demon.
So yeah. But the rest of the cast is great. You know, again, you got Gary Oldman, you got Anthony Hopkins, you got Carrie Elwes. Carrie Elwes, in my opinion, one of the most unsung actors of all time. Richard Grant is great in it as Dr. Seward. Like, it's a good movie. It's just not as good as it could be. It could have been amazing. So. Alright, let's go ahead and move on to our weekly topics. So, The world of comic books is weird.
Just a little.
It's
And
become Game of Thrones.
I'm going to actually, like, you guys can see the image in front of you, but I'm going to try to see if I can find a good image so that you guys can kind of see the solicitations. In fact, I want to say that this was first on Indiegogo. It was. So, Private American is a comic book written by Mike Barron. Mike Barron is a legend in the comic book business. He is probably most known for his run on The Punisher. And the dude has been around forever. He's also had a very notable run of the character with called Dead Man. He's done some Star Wars comics, one of them being Rogue Squadron.
Mm-hmm.
He's done Batman, had a few runs on Batman. He's kind of done he's done a ton of stuff. And nowadays he's doing the indie thing, and a lot of it is because Mike Barron is also a outspoken Republican. And this is
shock.
Yeah. Which is not this isn't a new thing. You know, Mike is he's very patriotic guy. And from what I am told, I have not had the privilege of speaking with him. You'd think with all the people that I've spoken to in the comic book industry at this point that that I would have talked to him at some point, but I have not had the pleasure. I would love to at some point. But I went ahead and linked in our Discord server. I linked the Private American campaign so we can get a closer look at the pages and stuff. There has been a bit of an argument because the person who manages Mike's campaigns and stuff is Chris Braley. I know Chris. We've had our disagreements, but I know he's not a bad guy. Chris is... I don't know if he still runs it, but he was a website called Bleeding Fool, which made fun of Bleeding Cool at the start and ended up kind of becoming its own thing. I wrote for that site for a brief time. And Chris, has been, helping Mike out with managing his campaigns and stuff. So it's overall a nice dude. The thing is that, Barron is at a point where he's just kind of getting to do the stuff that he wants to do. And he has a book called Private American. And it obviously takes inspiration from current goings-on, politically speaking. I'm not going to get too much into politics, but we'll just put it this way. The American border is kind of a mess. Yeah, it's just kind of a mess. And we have problems in the U.S., specifically with bad actors that take advantage of the fact that the border is a mess. Mexican drug cartels. There have been apparently terrorists that have attacked the U.S. have come in through the southern border. Some that have been caught before they could do anything, but they were able to get in. And, of course, there's other issues that go on, human trafficking, things along those lines. Obviously drug trafficking, illegal weaponry. A lot of times, like, many of the illegal weapons that are used in shootings, like gang-related shootings and things like that, have been brought in through the southern border. Blah, blah, blah. You get the idea. So there's a problem down there, to say the least. And there's been a lot of media that has, like, covered it. My favorite, personally, is... Have you guys seen Sicario?
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
parts of it.
It's tremendous. That's another one you're going to have to watch with us at some point, Serena. Sicario is kind of deals with stuff like that and has, like, elements of that kind of bleed into the story. Sons of Anarchy had some stuff like that bleeds into it. Mayans MC, same thing. So Mike is doing his own story based on, like, basically creating his version of the Punisher that sticks to that region of the southern U.S., plus the border that goes into into these issues. So what he said, and by the way, the character that it stars is an American, but he is a Cuban American specifically. I'll read from the original Indiegogo campaign that Mike put up. Private American follows Marcos Zamora, a patriotic first-generation Cuban American and a former Army Green Beret. Which he's got to be old if he was a Green Beret, because nowadays it's just Delta. But he and his partner Gustavo battle criminals crossing the southern border, including cartels, human traffickers, and terrorists, and enemies of the state who are taking advantage of the border chaos to bring in desperate migrants, fentanyl, and suitcase bombs, leaving thousands of victims spread across the landscape. So a lot of this is dealing with stuff that we deal with nowadays. Like, with the human trafficking element, coyotes will bring in migrants from the southern border. Sometimes what will happen is that they will be family members of people that are already in the United States, and they are held by these coyotes for ransom, basically. Don't pay the ransom, your loved one ends up dead. You might get them back, but you get them back in pieces. Yeah, or they're trafficked for some other purpose, so on and so forth. It's terrible. It's a horrifying thing. Oh, another series that confronts stuff like this, but it's a different part of America. Dexter. First season, I've been rewatching that. There's a coyote in that Dexter kills. Dexter's great. At least the first few seasons. But the thing is that apparently Mike Barron is not allowed to make comics where a Hispanic descended American fights drug cartels, mules, terrorists, so on and so forth. Not allowed. Not allowed to happen. Because Rich Johnston of the website Bleeding Cool has basically been slandering Mike Barron by saying that his book Private American, it says here, Antarctic Press because Antarctic Press is going to be publishing the book from here on in, apparently. Antarctic Press launches a new series in their January 2025 Solicits and Solicitation, written by Badger creator and Punisher author Mike Barron and Richard Bonk. Private American, a vigilante shooting immigrants on the southern border of the USA. So,
oh boy.
I'm gonna say this here. I'm gonna describe for those of you listening to the audio version of this. But if you want to look at the images that I'm looking at, you can just Google Private American Indiegogo, because that's where I'm looking from. What I see here is I see flashbacks to United States military. I see what looks to be a drug kingpin's mansion. Somebody burying a body in a shallow grave. And the character Private American seems to be fighting people who are wearing Russian military, or are using Russian military weaponry. Usually AK-47s or some sort of variant. And are dressed in tack gear, common to the sort of stuff that you've seen people who are in cartels wear in other bits of fiction.
A lot of Warsaw Pact stuff.
Yeah. So, let me say something here. Let me ask you both a question. When I say the word immigrant, do any of the images on this campaign come to mind?
No.
No?
I'm in the same boat. That is not what I think when I think immigrant. I don't see... Like, this is just me personally, and I guess all of us. I see a guy who is dressed in tack gear, or at least the best that he could buy, dressed in tack gear, fighting other guys dressed in tack gear, that, according to the solicitations, are involved in nefarious deeds south of the border. Which, again, south of the border, there are problems with that. Human trafficking, drugs. I've already gone over that. When I think immigrant, personally, my image, especially if you're going to, like, say, like, illegal immigrant, I usually think of somebody who is, you know, just crossing the border, maybe with a couple of kids or something like that. You know, like, we've seen those images. The guys that this guy is fighting do not look like immigrants, as that word is used in parlance. These just look like your kind of stereotypical militaristic bad guys. Now, what Rich Johnston is trying to do is he's trying to say that Mike Barron's a racist. I have no reason to think that Mike Barron is a racist. I don't think that Mike Barron has ever given anybody a reason to think that he's a racist. And this book certainly doesn't make me think that the creator of it is a racist.
I'm like, what races do you know has a black main character, not black, Cuban American main character, killing terrorists and other bad guys? Wouldn't it be a white character killing minorities?
You'd think.
Yeah, like, my thought is like, if you're gonna make, like, a racist comic book, I think of that one indie comic that one dude tried to make. What was it called? It was a dude dressed in a Confederate flag fighting Antifa members. I don't remember the name of it. Rebel Yell, that's it. That's what I think of. Because it's clear, like, what that dude's intentions were. You know? That's what I think, whenever it comes to, like actually racist comic. Because usually what I would think is, it's either some militaristic dude slaughtering people that can't fight back. Or I think of the video game ethnic cleansing. You know, which is an actual fucking Nazi in a game made by white nationalists. You know?
Oh, God.
I don't think I played that. Let me go look.
It's pretty infamous, though, when it comes to the internet.
Yeah, okay. I remember seeing this. I didn't play it, though.
Yeah. So Rich Johnston is trying to make that implication that that's what's going on, but that's obviously not what you're seeing. So here's in the solicits, because Rich Johnston says that that it's in the solicits that this is a guy shooting immigrants. And here, I took the description from the solicits, which says, the U.S. border with Mexico has been overrun with lawless coyotes flowing across the Rio Grande, bringing in weapons, smuggling illegal drugs, and trafficking sex slaves across the country. And I am to assume that these are immigrants? What are you trying to say, Rich? You trying to say that, like, immigrants from south of the border are all coyotes smuggling illegal drugs and bringing in illegal weaponry? Rich, that's kind of fucked up.
Little implications are a little fucked.
Yeah, like really, man? You're trying to say that immigrants to my country are all criminals? What the fuck is that? What the hell, man?
Someone's been watching a little bit too much Fox News.
Nah, I wouldn't blame Fox News for that. I like that sort of attitude sounds like something I would see on Stormfront.
Oh yeah, for God, that's the whole thing.
Like,
actually, let me see. I'll go look.
Like, why the fuck does Rich Johnston sound like Andrew Anglin all of a sudden? You know? Genuinely curious as to what this dude's problem is with brown people. What the hell, Rich?
How very woke of you.
It's my thought is like, why is this white British guy with terrible teeth, not that that's very specific whenever it comes to British people, making these implications? Rich, why don't you check your privilege? How can you say such terrible things about immigrants from Southern America, from South America, man? What the fuck is wrong with you? Because I'm going to be honest. The people that get coyoted and all this other stuff, they're victims. I personally don't hold it against them. I think it's kind of fucked up that Rich Johnston seems to have the impression that these people are all criminals. Like, that's fucked up, dude. That's what I'm saying. Now, obviously, I'm fucking around and playing a game here, but this is something that honestly needs to be stated. If you are going to actually try to point out things that are racist in the world, actually understand what racism actually is. Pointing out criminals from south of the border are bad is not racist. At all. There's nothing racist about it. If Poland was to the south instead of Mexico, the attitudes of many people would not change. Crime is crime, man. And there's a lot of horrible things going on there. And there's a lot of people that are illegal migrants that get shuttled up here, and people that live south of the border that are victims of terrible, terrible, terrible human beings. And having a character that basically is emblematic of some people's frustration with the things that go on isn't that big of a deal. In fact, there are other characters that come from political frustrations that have been created that people praise all the fucking time. V for Vendetta being a good example. Now, this isn't a comic book for me. I don't ever see myself reading it. It's not really my thing. But at the same time, I also don't see any harm in it. You know? But then again, I don't look at immigrants from south of the border and think they're all criminals. Rich Johnston, I guess, just needs to get his shit together. But seriously, dude, that's fucked up. Stop trying to fucking cancel people just because they don't agree with your fucking politics, dude. If you don't like it, don't buy it, but don't slander people like that just because, you know, you have a publication. If this was a situation where Bleeding Cool actually got advertisers, I would say go after their advertisers, but all you guys do is run Google AdSense because nobody wants to fucking advertise with you people.
For good reason. Jesus.
Yeah. Good Lord. All right, second topic.
Ah, yes, Rouge.
Why are we here? Why are we here? I need to know this.
Goodness. What a terrible situation to be in.
So apparently there's some sort of thing where supposedly this character got censored, or less cleavage and back is shown in a video game for children.
Okay, so from what I've kind of been passively absorbing from this situation is that the remake for this particular Sonic the Hedgehog game, they covered the backup of her corset up until her shoulders, a little further than they did when they originally released the game, and they're big mad about it.
It's basically a continuation of the whole "why are you gay" thing, but instead of but kind of a bit of inverse, because they went from basically bitching about Lara Croft's new look in the Tomb Raider Netflix series, which for lack of hair is not good, to all of a sudden bitching about why this cartoon bat is not sexy enough.
First off, let me say this. There was a time that I was fully invested in the culture war. Fully invested. That was where a lot of my content was in regards to what I did on YouTube for the longest time. And it is one of my biggest regrets. at this point, because I, if I had a fight, if I could ever be so pretentious to say I did, it was for the right of free expression for artists. I did not want people coming in and telling me as an artist, as a writer, that I have to tell certain stories certain ways because they say so, because maybe it's going to offend some people or things along those lines. My freedom was being potentially suppressed by, instead of the government, the mob. And, by the way, I had that happen. I had people tell me that because my skin is pale, I cannot write black characters. And then when I wrote a book about people from Europe in the 12th century, I was told I can't do that, that there needs to be more people of color in it. That I'm racist for not including people of color in it, even though it's a book set in England in the 12th century. I had the mob telling me that I can't do certain things as an artist. I had a writer for CBR slander me in public, saying that I stole money from people when I didn't. Because he didn't believe that I, as a pale person, should be writing a black character. And because I thought that I was doing a better job at it than Ta-Nehisi Coates, which I still am. I don't even have any new material out, and I'm still better than Ta-Nehisi Coates as a comic book writer. Not that that's very hard. The dude sucks.
I will carry that same energy to Stanley and Jack Kirby, who, by the way, created the Black Panther.
Yeah.
So all that Wakanda Forever shit that people love in the MCU, it was created by two Jewish men.
Yeah. So I've gone through this, and by the way, none of these motherfuckers helped me out at all. But my whole thing is that I thought that's what we were fighting for was for artistic expression. Now it's starting to get to a point where it's like we're just fighting for horny. And look, whatever you do with your dick in your personal time is none of my business. My problem is that we're getting to a point where there is an expectation being put out by these creators where you have to consistently, if you're a creator of something or if you own an IP, you constantly have to sex up every female character like a motherfucker.
Don't go the Japan route.
Well, here's the funny thing.
Underage characters.
Yeah, that's fucked up. That's a cultural thing that's got its own discussion. But let's be honest about something. Does Rouge the Bat, a character in a series for children? I understand there are people that are not children who play Sonic games, but you need to, like, that's what the demographic is. Why does this character have to be sexy? Like, stupid sexy. Why does she need big cleavage? Don't tell me that's how she was done before and now it's different. I want to know why it needs to be there. Creatively speaking, let's say that I am in charge of that IP. I am Sega. Why do I, as Sega, need to continue to do this? Why do all installments of this character going forward or remasters of the original need to be that overly sexualized? Is there something about the art that changes if I cover her boobs up more? And if that change, and what is that change? what is affected by it? That is the question that I always asked whenever I saw stuff like this. Is it a massive change? Is this change making a statement that is negative for the arts as a whole? In this particular case, I would say no. No, it's not. Because the character doesn't need to be sexy. That's not the point. You know? And we're getting to a point where we are at, how do I put this? We are at the point where the people who say, well, you just need to go look at porn, are starting to have a point. Because if I think of like every culture warrior fucking griping point over the last 6 months, it has all been about titties. Or something along those lines. The one before this was the Tomb Raider Netflix series, which, like Serena mentioned earlier, is not good. Like, at all. It's not good. But somebody, Serena showed a tweet from Tomb Raider Keys to the Kingdom. And the art design of this is like, Laura is basically designed like a pencil with a grape stuck on it that's been slid down a little bit.
Basically the Eon Flux design.
And it wouldn't surprise me if it's the same Sing Key animator. I'll actually have a look real quick. Yep, Peter Chung.
Oh God, that's I hate Eon Flux's animation.
Well, here's my thing about it. It worked for Aeon Flux because Aeon Flux is supposed to be surrealist. You know, I never found anything in Aeon Flux sexy. It looked too weird, which was the point. It was supposed to fuck with you. It's surrealist. I don't need surrealist style art in Tomb Raider. That doesn't make any sense. And the whole thing with Lara Croft in that was, you know, it was like they were saying she looked too mannish, and it's like she doesn't look like a dude at all. What she did look like though was she looked athletic.
They have no idea what an athletic or muscular woman looks like.
Well, there's another character that they bitched about over the last year, saying that she looked mannish because she was the muscle mommy type, and that was Karlach from Baldur's Gate 3.
And Karlach is probably the most popular character aside from Astarion in that game.
Because there goes looks, personality, and then everyone else.
Yeah.
She's perfect.
She's great. She is she's such a fun character to be around. And she's obviously very physically fit. She is built like a female professional wrestler. In fact, there is a professional wrestler with the exact same build as her, named Rhea Ripley. Quite literally, if you look at Rhea Ripley and how she's built, and then you look at Karlach, they're basically the same person. The fact of the matter is that the muscle mommy thing is a thing. Some dudes like fit women. Like, especially these days. I think now more than ever. And this is something that I need to say as an artist to these culture warriors. And I think that this needs to be considered. I would like for it to be considered by any culture warrior that ever listens to this. And I'm going to try to be as nice as possible when I say this. Speaking as an artist, speaking as a guy who is a creator, is a writer, you know, who has created entire universes at this point, please fucking stop. You are not helping me. You are not helping artists at all. Because you are basically telling me as an artist that you, the mob, and you, the directors of the mob, are going to come after me if I do not create female characters to your specifications. It's not your fucking art, dude. It's mine. What if I decide that I want a fit female character in one of my stories? I mean, one of my stories has mixed martial arts fighters in it. It would be really fucking awkward if one of those mixed martial arts fighters had tits like Jenna Jameson. Because I don't know if you've seen female fighters, they don't have big boobs. Unless they've got implants. Because, lo and behold, those are big globs of fat. And when you exercise a lot, guess what you shed? So, if I want to have a fit character, you guys are not helping me. At all. You are not helping my freedom of expression. If anything, now you're the guys that are hindering it. If I don't think that a character needs to be walking around in a thong and pasties, I should be able to have that option, depending on the story that I want to fucking tell. Maybe I don't need every character to look like a fucking supermodel. What if I am telling a sort of Silent Hill type story that is about the average Joe and Jane? What if I don't need them all to look like supermodels? What if that would defeat the purpose? At that point, are you really helping my artistic expression? No, you're not. You're actually hindering it. What people do not realize, these culture wars don't realize, they're not helping us. At all. If anything, you're making things worse. Just fucking stop. What you have done, I'm going to use a 40K example. What you have done is you are effectively selling out the Emperor's children to Slaanesh. Mike, do you want to tell the story of Fulgrim?
So, oh goodness, this is kind of be put on the spot. So, Fulgrim, he was the Primarch of the Emperor's Children, and he was obsessed with perfection. And on his homeworld, he was essentially went through a number of arranged marriages, which ended terribly. Most of them with the, if I remember correctly, most of them, his wives got killed or died under mysterious circumstances. But as he was found, if I remember correctly, then he goodness, quickly look this shit up. But Fulgrim, he was found by the Emperor, and he was decided to be. When he saw him, he's like, "You're so perfect. I'm going to let you name your legion after me. You are my children." And everything. It was just terrible. So, how did he get corrupted? Yes, he found a alien sword. Yes, he found an alien sword that he decided, you know what, this is pretty cool. I'm going to keep using this. But then it started corrupting his soul. It was called the Blade of the Lair. And they didn't realize that the Chaos powers were are what they are. And so the sword came from a Chaos worshipping alien cult. And the sword slowly corrupted him. And Bro started becoming more and more perfect and demanding more and more things, and then started becoming excessive, absurdly excessive over time. And he started getting corrupted and doing worse and worse things and demanding worse and worse things of his sons, to the point where even the Khan pointed out that there was an exchange between him and the Khan, which Fulgrim says, "You do some strange things with your vehicles," and the Khan replied, says, I hear you do strange things to your men. And at that time, he was slowly, and then extremely rapidly being converted over to chaos, where he started taking on mutations, started becoming more perfect, and he started like getting like absurdly obsessed with perfection and demanding tortures and all sorts of things. It was absolutely like disastrous for the Imperium when the Emperor's children were converted, and it just got worse and worse and worse.
Not to mention he was led to kill somebody that he genuinely cared about that he didn't want to kill.
Mm-hmm.
His own brother.
Yeah, that was oh boy.
That is, and there's a reason that I asked to bring that up, is Fulgrim is a really good example of someone who had an idea of what better is without considering what is actually better for everybody. And then he ends up becoming a slave to the Chaos God Slanesh, who is everything in excess. This is effectively what these guys are. They are becoming the Emperor's children in 40K. They are only thinking with their dicks, not with what the actual artists need from people that are going to try to stand up for them. Because at this point, I don't really feel like these guys stand for anything that I stand for as an artist at all. And they either need to start listening to the people that they say they stand up for, or they need to fuck off. One or the other. Be the salamanders. Don't be the elementers' children. Don't be the Emperor's children. All right, final bit. Fuck David Zazlav.
Oh God.
I was looking forward to Uzumaki.
How dare you? According to David Zazlav.
Bro couldn't budget his way out of a fucking paper bag. Jesus.
So, I have not watched the Uzumaki anime, and now I definitely don't want to.
First episode is fantastic. Everyone at work was talking about it. I don't hear a single soul peep about it now. The rest of the episodes have just dropped from the flowing animation and quality of the first episode to where it's basically a flash slideshow now. It's genuinely terrible.
I saw at the climax with Shuichi's, not Shuichi. I forgot the dude's name. The main character basically gets dragged to like the this eldritch dimension, and just like the animation for it's just like stilted. It's just a stilt image, not a moving image that's just going down.
It literally looks like something that I could throw together in Sony Vegas in about 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm. How do we describe this? So, does anybody... Okay, to describe what image tween is, you're taking a image from one spot and you're dragging it to another. All they did was they tweened it from one spot to the bottom, and then they took one single frame, and they tweened the animation. It went downhill really quickly from that first episode, and I don't think they're going to be able to salvage it from the normies aren't talking about it in my area. Then it's just Just awful. Awful. Awful animation. Ugh. Ugh. Can't believe it.
Yeah,
We
and
waited, what, 20 years for this?
basically, I mean, Uzumaki is one of the most like prolific stories in all of manga. Like,
It's one
I
of the
can't.
horror stories.
Go ahead, sir.
It's basically one of Junji Ito's magnum opus, aside from Tomie.
Yeah, I think that's an accurate way to say it. According to this, Serena, why don't you read the that screenshot that you posted about what exactly is the cause of these production issues we're seeing?
Okay. One of the anime adaptations producers admitted that the series went through a massive production nightmare around the time the first episode was completed, with a combination of COVID screwing up the schedule combined with new management and Warner Brothers not having much interest in giving the series the budget necessary to maintain the same level of fluidity as they originally strived for, leading a different team, Akatsuki, who previously animated Housing Complex C for Adult Swim, with less time and money to complete it. So a budget cut and COVID fucking them over.
See,
That's what they
especially
claim.
yeah, the kicker is like the David Zazlav thing makes a lot of sense because that dude has made bungle after bungle ever since he took over as the head of Warner Brothers. Like, for some reason, he thought that it was a wise idea to put The Flash into theaters, even after all the stuff with Ezra Miller. And lo and behold, it did not do well. It's almost like exactly what people said was going to happen happened.
To sum up everything, he kidnapped a baby, kidnapped a bunch of people, assaulted a couple people.
Wait, what?
Else to do? Oh, yeah, he was kind of a fucking nut job, Ezra Miller.
Oh, Ezra Miller.
Yeah, Ezra Miller kidnapped a baby, assaulted a couple people, strangled a fan. Genuinely kind of.
Jail? Is he in jail?
No, he's not in jail.
I think he's on probation.
He's on turbo probation because they needed him for the production of the TV shows, and of course because the Hollywood elites are a different class of people. They were allowed to keep him on probation rather than.
Basically, they lack morals.
Yeah.
So there's that. Like, David Zazlav is just very. Another stupid that he did was he made the mistake of. So this is a professional wrestling thing. So for those of you who don't watch professional wrestling, you're not going to get it. But they apparently have some sort of stake or ownership in All Elite Wrestling, and they're apparently now paying $150 million a year for the media distribution rights for AEW's shows. Though one show got canceled, so they got two. Neither of those shows on the regular is pulling in over 600,000 people watching them per week. So that's $150 million a year. Whereas the WWE is only getting $50 million a year from the CW for NXT, which is their developmental brand. And that pulls in more ratings than AEW does. So he is overpaying significantly for weaker programming.
Does this dude just not know how to budget things well?
It's starting to seem like it, doesn't it?
Yeah, because, like, he cut the budget on this when this could have been huge. Because, like, up to this point, a lot of, like, anime that I had seen that had Warner Brothers involvement was pretty good. Bastard being the most notable.
Oh, fucking Bastard was fantastic. Holy shit.
Yeah. It, like, Bastard actually having some love and care and some budget put into it made me think, like, maybe if Warner Brothers ever got to do Berserk. They might actually give it the time that it needs. Now I don't think so, because now Uzumaki is going to be compared to Berserk 2016 forever.
How the fuck did they fuck up Berserk?
Same reasons.
Oh,
Lack
same
of budget.
reason. Look, lack of budget. They gave it to a weird Shotokan like animator, and
Shotokan animator.
yep, it's a company known for making Shotokan, which is
Why the
young boys.
have them? Why
'Cause
the
they-
fuck?
Lowest bidder. It's terrible.
My dude, that's not. It doesn't fucking matter. Like, I'm not gonna have one of the most well-known properties be animated by a bunch of fucking Shotokan animators. That's fucking retarded.
Oh, it gets worse. When it first released, it was so bad. It was genuinely awful. You could see like them like hand tweening everything in certain scenes, like the scene where Guts is trying to walk away from the rest of the party during the dark woods. He's kind of like, you can see him like awkwardly shuffle towards the camera. That's hand tweening, and it's pretty bad. It got improved. It got improved for the Blu-rays, but by then it was too fucking late. It's just too fucking late.
What, like, do people not know how to handle properties?
Not these days. It seems like it's mostly them trying to avoid paying as much money as they can. And
Fucking hate that. But now you
Oh.
just problems. And you get left with a shitty project.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's driving me crazy, because it's like, you're really fucking over the ability for, to make money. It's like, it's the whole thing, like, you need to spend money to make money. It's very true in entertainment. You can only cut so many corners. And the worst part about it is, like, that Akatsuki, the animation studio that did this, Housing Complex C is great.
I never seen that.
Oh, it's so good.
I did not know it existed until recently.
Yeah, it is Lovecraft. It is like Lovecraft, but in Japan. Like, it is great. So yeah, it's one of those things where man, I really don't understand exactly why it is that Zazlav will not put money where it needs to be. This dude just, like, he just makes bad call after bad call after bad call. Like,
He needs to move as CEO.
yeah, I completely agree. Oh,
Use
goodness.
that fiduciary duty stipulation that most CEOs are required to have with their stockholders. Ooh, that could get pretty ugly though too. Considering, I think that it almost seems like it's intentional sabotage at this point. It's hard to say anything else. Terrible.
Yep, so sadly we are just now at a point where I don't know if they've got much of a future when it's over there at Warner Brothers, but if they do, it's not with David Zazlav at the head of it. God damn.
Mm-hmm.
Well, folks, yeah, it sucks, but it just happens. Bad leadership.
Where did the whole bait Zazlav come from? Like, why was that a thing?
Because he fired some people that were on the board of Warner Brothers that were women, and people thought that was based. So that's basically like,
That's that's not really based. That's just like for what reason?
yeah,
Like,
the well, the reason was is that they weren't doing very well. But it's like, man, you've kind of not really.
being those misogyny allegations.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I would say more like you haven't made up for getting rid of them. Like you haven't shown that you're better than they are. So it is what it is, man. But anyway, folks, we appreciate y'all stopping by this week. It is just one of those things where, folks, we just have to remind you, resist the call of chaos, for it only destroys.
No horny.
More well, horny with responsibility.
Exactly. So on that note, folks, we appreciate y'all stopping by and discussing these issues with us. We will see you again next week. So until that time, my name is Micah Curtis. For the rest of everybody here, the president and CEO and co-owner of Grindstone Arts, have yourselves a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next time.